Good morning, students. Today I'm going to introduce a little bit about growth and development. What is growth? Growth refers to an increase in physical size of the whole or any of its parts, and it can be measured in inches or centimeters or pounds or kilograms. It is a quantitative changes in child's body. What does this mean? Growth is nothing but it is just an increase in the physical size. For example, a child from 1 year, at 1 year the child is 75 centimeter. As the child grows up to 4 years, he becomes 100 centimeters. So that is an increase in the size of the whole. So this height, it can be measured in centimeters or it can be measured in inches. Likewise, a weight. So as the child grows, the weight also increases. It is nothing but the increase in the physical size of the whole or any of its parts. Since it can be measured, it is a quantitative measurement. That's why it is quantitative change in the child's body. Whereas development is not like that. This refers to the progressive increase in skill and capacity to function, and it is more qualitative. For example, what is progressive increase in skill and capacity to function? As the child develops, initially the child as the child is 4 or 5 months, the child starts to hold a rattle, child starts to hold on to something which is given. But later, as the child develops, as he grows, there is a progressive increase in the skill. He reaches out by himself. Even without being given an object, he tries to take the object by himself. For example, he takes a spoon, starts to feed by himself. So that is the progressive increase in skill and capacity to function. This is more qualitative. It cannot be measured. You cannot measure how well a child is able to eat with a spoon. So it is qualitative. That's why it is called development. The next one is maturation. Maturation refers to an increase in competence and ability to function at a higher level depending on the child's heredity. What is maturation? An example for maturation is intelligence. Intelligent quotient depends upon the child's heredity, and it is not the same for the same age. As the child develops and grows, the ability to function develops, the maturity improves, the child is able to think at a higher level. So this is called as maturation. Now, why do we need to learn about growth and development of a child? Number one, we need to know what to expect of a particular child at a given age. For example, if a child is not able to achieve head control, normally a child achieves head control by 3 months. So if the child is not able to achieve a head control even after 6 months, then it means that there is some problem for the child. So this will enable us by studying growth and development. We will be able to know what to expect for a particular child. Number two, to judge whether he or she is normal for a specific growth or development, specific level of development. By 1 year, the child has to start walking. So if they are not able to, maybe there is some developmental delay. Even after 2 years, the child does not speak or walk, then there must be some problem, abnormality. To detect any abnormality in a child, we learn growth and development. To understand the reason for particular illness which occurs in various age groups. For example, children with global developmental delay. We will be able to identify this when we are able to learn growth and development, because certain illnesses like cerebral palsy, mental retardation, all these are mental handicaps which can also cause a rapid decrease in the growth and development, or it can alter the growth and development. The fourth one, to teach parents to observe the child and help the child. So the fourth importance of learning growth and development is to teach parents to observe the child and to help the child to achieve optimal growth and development. When we teach the parents that at this age this has to happen, at this age this has to happen, they will be able to identify and bring them to the child and treat them adequately when they don't achieve that. Now we'll go on to the principles or laws or characteristics of growth and development. What are some of the important laws or principles to remember? Number one, development is cephalocaudal. Cephalo is a Greek word which means head. Caudal means tail. So development here, it proceeds from head to tail. For example, what is the meaning of head to tail? It starts from the head and then it proceeds down to the tail. Normally, a newborn has to have head control before he could have hand control or before he can sit alone. So it starts from the head down till the tail. Later, the last thing is he starts walking. Next one is development proceeds from proximal to distal. It can be easily observed by the progress of upper extremity development. This means to say that initially the upper extremity develops first compared to the lower extremity. The child starts holding the rattle, starts making primary or physical movements with the hands, and then slowly it progresses to the legs. He tries to hold things initially, and then he starts sitting, and then he starts movements like walking. So it is more starting from the upper extremity till down. The third principle is development proceeds from general to specific, from gross skill to refined. What does this mean? As the child matures, the general movements become more specific. As a child, if you can take, initially the child tries to pick up an object with the whole hand. The second, slowly as the child grows, the child starts to pick up with his finger, index finger and his thumb. That is how the slowly, and then the fine motor gets refined as well as the gross motor. So initially they try to hold with two hands, and then they start holding with one hand a particular object, then with the fingers. So it starts from general and becomes more specific. The fourth one is growth and development, a continuous process from conception till death. What is the meaning of this? Though there are highs and lows in the rate of growth and development, but still growth is continuous. It does not stop, and it might not be same at the same rate for all children. Growth and development proceed in an orderly sequence. The meaning is, for example, growth in height occurs in only one sequence, from smaller to larger. It does not suddenly stop. So it starts in an orderly sequence. For example, if you see the development, the child starts to first sit before they creep. Slowly after they start sitting, they start crawling and creeping, and then they start standing, and then they walk, and then they run. So it occurs in an orderly sequence. Different children pass through the predictable stages at different rates. No two children are the same in their motor sequence or motor development. One child might start walking at 9 months, whereas the other child might walk at 1 year or more than that. But both are developing normally, only thing the rates are different. All body systems do not develop at the same rate. The different body systems, if you see the body tissues, they mature differently, and certain body tissues mature rapidly compared to the others. For example, if you see the lymphoid tissue, it is more bigger or hyperplastic during childhood, and then as it progresses to puberty, it undergoes involution. For example, the tonsil and the adenoids for a child are bigger compared to adulthood. As the child grows, the tonsil and the adenoid or lymphoid tissues, they regress and become smaller. Compared to the genital system, if you take the genital tissue, initially the genital organs are very small, and as the child grows into puberty and attains puberty, the genital tissues, they also become bigger, they grow, and the child starts attaining other secondary sexual characteristics also. So these are the principles. Now there are some factors affecting the growth and development. Some of the factors are as follows. There are totally 13 factors that affect the growth and development. Number 1 is heredity. Heredity influences the growth to a greater extent. Suppose the height of my father or my mother, they influence my height. So the similar way, any child if they have their height or their weight, it depends upon the gene, the genetic inheritance of their parents. Number 2, race. Race also really matters. Even certain disease conditions are associated with certain race. Suppose Asians, Africans, certain diseases are very common in certain racial differences. Next one is gender. If you see, male and female differ in a lot of things. If you take a male children are more heavier and they grow taller compared to female children. The next one is intrauterine development. Intrauterine development is a development inside the uterus. So when the mother is pregnant, when she gets adequate nutrition, when the baby develops adequately, then that also influences the growth of the baby at a later stage. The next one is illness and injury. Suppose children who become very often sick, their growth also is delayed. The growth and the development will be delayed for children who frequently become ill or sick. Next one is nutrition. Nutrition very much influences or affects the growth and development. A child who is well fed, who is adequately fed with a well balanced diet, certainly grows well compared to a child who is from a very poor socioeconomic status, who is not fed well. Next one is environment. Environment, as we already saw, the environment stimuli is very important. A child who is brought out with lot of love and affection grows and develops well compared to a child who does not have that opportunity of love, of affection, who is from a neglected family, who is from a broken family. Certainly the environment matters a lot. Ordinal position in the family. Children, the ordinal position is nothing but the birth order. They say, studies have found out that children who are older children, they are more anxious, and the second children, they usually are more petted, and the third children are very loving. So this is what are the studies that show. The ordinal position in the family also matters. Suppose there are 5-6 children in the family, certainly the growth will be affected because equal concentration is not given, love and affection and adequate nutrition is not given for all the children. Therefore, the ordinal position in the family also affects growth and development. The emotions are very important. The child, if they are brought up with adequate support, adequate love, affection, it really affects the child's growth and development. Adequate support from school, from at home, from everyone, the child turns out to be growing well. Intelligence. As we already saw, intelligence of the child really matters in the development of the child, and it differs from child to child. Exercise. Exercise is also another thing which helps in growth of a child. Hormones also affects the growth. For example, children with any hypothyroidism, the growth is really affected because thyroxine is a hormone which controls the basal metabolic rate. Structure of the systems. Each systems grow at a different rate. So even any problem or any problem in any of these systems, if it is affected, it can affect the growth. For example, the endocrine system. Mainly there are hormones which control the growth of the child. Suppose the growth hormone. Any problem in any of these systems, the growth can also be affected. Now we'll go on to the different periods or stages of growth and development. First one is the prenatal period from conception to birth. This is the period from the time when the mother conceived till the baby is born. And the ovum is the period from conception to 2 weeks. After the baby is conceived in the womb, till 2 weeks we call the product as ovum. And from 2 to 8 weeks we call it as embryo. From 8 weeks till 40 weeks, that is the time when the baby is to be delivered, it is called a fetus. A newborn is a period from birth after the baby is born, from birth till 4 weeks, otherwise 0 to 28 days, we call it newborn. And an infant is from 1 month to 1 year. A toddler is from 1 year to 3 years. A preschooler is from 3 years to 6 years. A schooler, otherwise called gang age or loose tooth age, they are from 6 to 12 years. Adolescent we can classify as early, late, middle and late, but broadly we can classify as early adolescence from 12 to 14 years and late adolescent from 14 to 18 years. Next one is the methods to assess growth and development in children. There are two methods. One is cross-sectional, the other one is longitudinal. Now we'll go on. Cross-sectional is you take a group 100 children together, you make them stand. For example, you want to know what is the average height of a 1-year-old child. You take all the 1-year-old children, you maybe some 100 of them, you make them stand according to their height order, and you take the 50th child and you see what is the middle, the median, the 50 and the 51 you add, and you see how much is the height. The average of that gives you the average height of the 1-year-old child. Longitudinal is the same child. If you want to see how much is the head circumference from 0 to 6 months, you take children who are born at 0 months, then you go on to children with 1 month. You follow the same child over a longer period and you are assessing how much there is an increase in the head circumference. Now we'll go on to the milestones. We have gross motor, fine motor, social and adaptive milestones and key language milestones. What is gross motor? First, before seeing the milestones, we will see there are some theories, concepts and principles. There are some theories that are laid for personality development by different people. The first one is psychosexual development, which was given by Sigmund Freud. Psychosexual development is nothing but the word psychosexual means it is to describe any sensual pleasure. During childhood, there are certain regions of the body which assume a psychological significance as a source of new pleasure. Children, certain body parts gives them a sensual pleasure for the child, which helps in improving the psychosexual development. The first one is from birth to 1 year, that is infancy. During this stage, the major source of pleasure is sucking. Their pleasure is around the oral cavity. So as you can see in this picture, they start sucking 0 to 6 months. Their main pleasure is sucking. They derive pleasure by sucking. Then after 6 months, they slowly start biting. The teeth gums, so they start chewing, vocalizing. So they find more pleasure in these activities. The next one is anal stage. During the toddler stage, they become more interested in the anal region and they try to use their anal sphincter to withhold or expel the fecal material. During this stage, toilet training has to be initiated. That is, this is the time where they achieve bladder control, so we need to start them in toilet training. The third stage, that is preschoolers, they have this phallic stage. This is a stage where the genitals become interesting and more sensitive. They start masturbating or handling the sex organs. They come to know they come to know the difference between the sex. They're very curious about the dissimilarities. This is the age where they come to know whether they are a male or female, who's a male, who's a female. All this they come to know at this stage. In this stage, there are two stages. One is the Oedipal complex, which is seen in boys. Here, it's nothing but the boys will desire the mother more and they find the father as a hostile figure. For example, where the boys, sometimes they will like the mother so much, they would say, I would like to marry you. They will not allow the father near the mother. So that is Oedipal complex. This is more prevalent, commonly seen in preschoolers. Next one is Electra complex, where the girls will desire just the opposite. They will desire the father and they will find the mother more hostile. During the schooler period, this period of psychosexual development is latency period, where they would like to mingle with their own sex. They always find the opposite sex as ugly, dirty. They will not mingle with the opposite sex. They want to be with their own peers, girls with girls, and boys will mingle with boys. The next stage is genital stage from age 12 years and over that. This begins at puberty with the maturation of reproductive system. Here they start producing sex hormones, and here they are more they get infatuations. Their hormones are at a higher level, and they start they secondary sexual characteristics appear. They start liking the opposite sex more than the same sex peers. The next development or the next theory is the psychosocial development, which was formulated by Erik Erikson. This is nothing but he gives a healthy personality. He emphasizes on healthy personality, and he says every stage they have this particular, there is a need or a core problem. If this is not met, then they can have personality problems. They can have problems longing or lasting till life. So the first one, during infancy, the main core problem is trust versus mistrust. This is found from birth to 1 year, as I said, infancy. Here, children, they trust something or someone who gives consistent loving care. Here, mainly the mother plays an essential role, and the infant tries to trust the mother when she meets all his or her needs. But mistrust develops when their needs are inadequately met. The second stage is during the toddler stage, that is 1 to 3 years. They have autonomy versus shame and doubt. This is the stage where they want to do things for themselves by using their newly acquired motor skills of walking, climbing, and decision making. At this stage, they want to do everything. For example, a toddler wants to eat by themselves. They want to put on their shoes. Though they have not acquired the skill, they want to accomplish. They try to stand, they try to walk, they try to climb by themselves. This is called autonomy or independent. They want to do things by themselves. But if they are not allowed to do that, negative feelings of doubt and shame can arise, where they are forced to become more dependent on the parents. The next one, during the preschooler age, is initiative versus guilt. This occurs between 3 to 6 years, where children explore the physical world with all of their senses and powers. Here, when they are made to feel that, so they try to initiate and help out. For example, girls try to initiate their parents in household works. They try to initiate asking the parents whether they can do this, they can do that. So that's how they take a lot of initiative. When they are made to feel that their activities bring bad results, when they are told you are not good for anything, you are not doing anything, you are ugly, you are not doing it well, then it produces a sense of guilt. In schoolers, the psychosocial development is industry versus inferiority. This is seen in 6 to 12 years. Here they want to engage in tasks and activities, and they need and want real achievement. This is the age where they want to master over a skill. For example, they want to learn how to do fishing, they want to learn how to play guitar, they want to master a particular activity, and they feel inadequate or inferior if too much is expected. If they are not able to do a particular thing and there are so much of expectations, then they start developing inferiority complex. The next one is adolescent age. Between the early adolescent, they have this, the psychosocial development is identity versus role confusion. What is identity versus role confusion? This is a stage where they want to be identified in a group, especially in the peer group. They want to be identified, recognized, appreciated. They want to be given more importance. So here, this can be because of an increased surge of hormones, and because of the physical changes in their body which takes place. When they are not adequately identified, they struggle to fit in the roles. When they are expected too much, when they are not able to solve this, this results in role confusion. In the late adolescent, that is 14 to 18 years, the core problem is intimacy versus isolation. Intimacy is nothing but they tend to become very close to people whom they love, but when they are disappointed, they try to isolate themselves. The next one is cognitive development. This was given by Jean Piaget. According to him, intelligence enables an individual to make adaptation to the environment. He tells that the development, the thinking, the intelligence, it enables them to adapt to a particular environment. So we will see from birth to 2 years, the cognitive development or the intellectual development is sensory motor stage. What is sensory motor stage? Here, simple learning takes place. Children start learning from repetitive behaviors to imitative behaviors. Initially, they try to learn just by moving their hands, their legs, and slowly they try to imitate. For example, if an elder person starts coughing, these children also try to imitate the same thing. If you try to keep your hand and close your mouth or close your face, they also try to imitate. Then they develop a sense of cause and effect as they direct towards objects. For example, if they know that if we give a screw, the car will run. If I try to pull the car backwards, the car will run forward. So this trial, they learn by trial and error and cause and effect. This is called cause and effect. They learn that less than 2 years. Next one is pre-operational stage. This is for between 2 to 7 years. This is the stage where they interpret objects and events not in terms of general properties but in terms of their relationships or their use to them. For example, a toy car they might imagine and think it to be a real car for them to go around to school, to go around shopping. So that is how they feel. Their imagination is at peak. They are more egocentric. They do not put themselves in the place of another. Whatever they feel or they like is what they want and is theirs. That is what they feel. Next one is concrete operational, is between 7 to 11 years. Here the thoughts become more logical. Here they will be able to classify, sort out, order and organize the facts about the world to use. They will be able to solve simple problems between this age group. The next one is between 11 to 15 years is formal operation. Here they will be able to use abstract terms, symbols. They'll be able to draw logical conclusions from a set of observations. They'll be able to solve complex problems, complex puzzles. So they can adapt and be flexible to the environment and the problems. They can think at a higher level. The moral development was given by Kohlberg. He says that children become culturally oriented to the labels of good, bad, right and wrong. So when do they learn this? The initial thing is pre-conventional morality. This is a stage seen in infancy, toddler period, where they are not able to judge, understand rules. They don't know what is good or what is bad. They are guided by what to do and what not to do. So it is the role of the parents mainly to correct them when they do correctly, to appreciate them when they are correct, and to correct or punish them when they do wrong. Stage 1 is punishment obedience orientation. So under pre-conventional morality, there are different stages. Stage 1 is mainly they learn, this is the time they learn what is good, the bad and what is bad. And they try to avoid punishment. They know that if they pinch others, that is bad and they will get punishment. So to try avoiding punishment, they try not to do it. Stage 2 is the instrumental relativist orientation. Here right behavior consists of that which satisfies the child's own needs and sometimes the needs of others. So they feel that if I do this, it will hurt others. So they learn that at this age. And we have a conventional level. Here they conform to rules, they are loyal, This happens mostly in preschoolers and schoolers, where they learn how to be loyal, how to follow rules at school. They try to maintain support and they follow law and order, whatever is said in the school. For example, if you have to follow a line when you go for playing, they try to follow line. They try to play in turns. All that they learn. And stage 3 is the interpersonal concordance of good boy, nice girl. This is the age where they want to be pleasing to others. When they are appreciated, they feel very good and they try to obey rules. The law order orientation at stage 4. Here they obey the rules, doing one's duty. They show respect for authority. They maintain social order, like coming to school on time. They have to attending certain things, following the cleaning schedule. All this they try to do it. This is very common in schoolers. The post-conventional autonomous or principal level is during the adolescent age, where children, they try to define moral values and principles that are laid. For example, honesty. They know that they need to be honest, they need to be sincere, they need to be polite, kind. All that they try to learn. They should not violate rules, and they feel that they have to be according to the right standards, according to the society. Next development is spiritual development, given by James Fowler in 1974. Here, children need to have meaning, purpose and hope in their lives. This is the stage where they slowly start identifying about spirituality and their needs of confession and forgiveness. The first stage is the infancy stage, where the spiritual development is undifferentiated. There is no right or wrong. They just follow and trust the parents, and there is no conviction to guide the behavior. Nobody tells them what is good, right, wrong. They don't know. They just trust the parents. Next stage is the intuitive projective phase, between 1 to 3 years. Here at this age, they try to imitate the religious behaviors of others without comprehending the meaning of activities. For example, a child goes to the church and follows goes to the church or the temple and follows whatever the parents do. If they bow, they also bow. See, if the parent puts a pallu over the head, they also try to put. So if they bow down, they also bow. So if they owe prayers, even the children follow the same thing. So this is what is called as intuitive projective. You can also see this during the preschooler age. It is seen till 6 years. The next stage from 6 to 12 years is mythical literal faith. Here they will have a strong interest in religion. They learn what is good, what are bad behaviors, and they know that good behaviors will be rewarded and bad behaviors will be punished. So they start developing fear of being rewarded for good. Next one is synthetic conversion. This is mainly seen in the adolescent age. They recognize that prayers are not always answered. They begin to reason. They begin to search and they want to know who is God, why I or me is created. All this they starts developing. Next one is individuating reflexive stage. This also occurs in late adolescence, where they try to compare the religious standards of their parents with others. They try to view, why is it done this way? Why should I not wear a chappal when I go into the church? What is the reason? What is the standard? Why others are doing like that? So that is what they try to learn. Next one is play. Play is an occupation for the child. Just like how we have jobs, children, they develop their physical and intellectual abilities during play. They also develop moral values through play. It can also develop their creativity by giving for example, a child who's given a clay, they try to use the clay creatively. Or if they've given a crayon, they try to draw and creatively produce an object. So it also provides a therapeutic release from stress. For example, a child who's hospitalized, when you give play, that diverts them from the pain and stress they have towards hospitalization. So now we'll go on to what are the different. So therefore, play is essential to child's mental, emotional and social well-being. So it does not stop even when the child is admitted in the hospital. So there are different types of play. One is for infants, it is solitary play. Here, children starts playing with initially they start playing with their fingers, with their legs, and by 4 or 5 or 6 months they start putting their legs, their fingers into their mouth. That is also a type of play. Slowly after 6 months they try to play with their own body parts. So that is called solitary play. Next one is parallel play seen in toddler. This is a type of independent activity where the play is more parallel. As you can see, those two children sitting parallelly next to each other, but both of them, they are not sharing their toys. They just are sitting alongside, but they do not mingle with each other. They do not share the toys. They play parallelly, but they can leave their group at a will. For example, if this child is not interested, wants to sleep, can leave the group, goes to sleep. So that is what is called parallel play. Parallel play is an activity or a play where they sit alongside, but they do not share thoughts or share their toys. The third one is a cooperative or associative play seen in preschoolers. Here children play with each other, they interact with each other, they share their toys. This is called associative play. Competitive play, here this is more common among schoolers. They play with a purpose to achieve a goal. For example, playing Coco, playing football, playing basketball. So here they have a purpose to win the game, and they engage in more formal game activities, like they have leaders, they have followers. In a football we do have a leader, a goalkeeper. So just like that, they have leaders, they have followers, and they have a goal in mind to win the game. Now, what are the language development? Children, they start babbling at few months, and by 1 year by 1 month they have social smile, then they start cooing, then they start babbling, then they start telling few words, but by 1 year they can speak 6 to 8 words. By 2 years a child will be able to speak 600 words. By 3 years they speak 900 words. By 4 years they can speak. From 3 years onwards, you can see you just have to add 600. For 4 years 1500 words, 5 years 2100 words, and after by schooler they speak a lot. They learn new words, jargons, and they speak around 20,000 to 30,000 words. Physical growth and development can be divided into biological growth, motor development, and sensory development. First one, biological growth, we have index of nutrition and health. So this is nothing but here the normal limits vary for each year of childhood. So weight is a very good indicator for nutrition and health. So according to the WHO, the average birth weight should be for an Indian child should be 2.5 to 3.5 kg, and 5 to 10% of preliminary loss will be there the first 10 days of life. After that, the infant starts gaining 30 grams per day for the first 6 months, and the next 6 to 12 months gains 15 grams per day. Next, by 5 to 6 months, the infant doubles the birth weight. For example, at birth, if the child is 3 kg, by 6 months, child will be around 6 kg. And the infant triples the birth weight by 1 year. That means child becomes around 9 to 10 years, 10 kg by 1 year. Then quadruples at 2.5 years. Becomes 4 times at 2.5 years. After 1 year, the weight gain is only 2 to 3 kgs per year. Infant weight can be checked using an infantogram up to 1 year. So the formula for calculating the weight in an expected weight in children, there are different formulas. For infancy, that is 0 to 1 year, it is age in months plus 9 by 2. Suppose child is a 2 months old baby, 2 plus 9 divided by 2. That gives 11 divided by 2. That is the expected weight for a 2-month-old child should be 5.5. Likewise, from 1 to 6 years, the formula for checking the expected weight is age in years into 2 plus 8. So for example, you want to calculate for a 2-year-old child, age in years is 2, so 2 into 2 plus 8 would be, so 2 into 2 is 4, 4 plus 8 will be 12 kgs. 6 to 12 years, if you want to check the weight, the formula is age in years into 7 minus 5 divided by 2. Suppose the child is 10 years, so 10 into 7 is 70, minus 5 will be 65. So 65 divided by 2. 65 divided by 2 will be around 32.5. So the expected weight for a 10-year-old child has to be 32.5. The birth height normally at birth is 49 to 50 centimeter, and the height increases 2.5 centimeter per month for the first 6 months, and after 6 months the baby increases 1.25 centimeter per month. At 1 year the baby should be 75 centimeter, and birth height it doubles by 4 years and it triples by 13 years. So by 4 years the baby will be 100 centimeter, and by 13 years baby should be around 150 centimeter. The formula for height calculation is age in years. This calculation can be used from 1 year onwards. Age in years into 6 plus 77. So for example, a 3-year-old child you want to calculate, or for a 2-year-old child, so age in years is 2. 2 into 6 will be 12. So 12 plus 77, if you see, that comes to around 88 centimeter or 89 80. So 12 plus 77 will be around 89 centimeter. So that is how we calculate the height. The wooden board used to check the infant height is called infantometer. The next one is head circumference. How do you check the head circumference? Head circumference is the best index to understand the growth of brain, and as you can see, the head circumference at birth is 33 to 35 centimeter, and always head circumference is more than the chest circumference for an infant. And for that you need to place the measuring tape over the occiput, as you can see, and around this it is over the occiput. It has to go around the forehead, just above the supraorbital. Supraorbital is above the eyelids, and it has to go around the occiput at the back. This is how you check the head circumference. Chest circumference, normally the chest is barrel shaped and the anteroposterior diameters are equal. Normal chest circumference at birth is 30.5 to 33 centimeters. By 1 year, the head circumference and the chest circumference become equal. Mid-arm circumference can be measured from 1 to 5 years. So this is measured with a non-stretch tape. You take an inch tape, pass it around the mid-arm. Usually we check it over the left arm, because usually most of our activity it is done over the non-dominant hand, and you have to measure from the acromion process to the olecranon process. So stretch the tape from between the acromion and the olecranon process, take the midpoint, and you have to check, circle around and check for toddlers and preschoolers. Normally the MAC mid-arm circumference increases at 0.5 to 1 centimeter per year. So the normal mid-arm circumference for a child is 13 to 16 centimeter. If it is 12.5 to 13 centimeter, child is moderately malnourished, and if it is less than 12.5 centimeter, child is severely malnourished. Hope you understood. Today we saw what is growth, what is development, what are the principles of growth and development. Then we saw the different factors affecting growth and development, the theories of growth and development. We saw about the psychosocial, psychosexual development given by Sigmund Freud. We saw about the moral development given by Kohlberg, the intellectual development given by Jean Piaget, the spiritual development given by Fowler. We saw about the language development, the play for different age group, and then we went on to see what are the anthropometric measurements for different age group. Under that we saw the height, the weight, the head circumference, chest circumference, and mid-arm circumference. Hope you understood this. Thank you.